Thank you. Hi. Hey, Avery, could you text Joe the meeting or email Joe the meeting link to his home email? He's having some issues with his legislative email.
Yeah, he should have gotten it on Friday, so I'll go ahead and send that to him again.
Cool. That's his AOL address.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thanks.
And I just got a message that Dr. Allen will just be a couple minutes late. So maybe we get a couple extra minutes here if nobody minds waiting a couple secs.
Senator Pouliot has a hearing and he said he'll be in as soon as he's done.
Thanks. Bye.
Can I ask what is it we're waiting for?
I think people were missing the Zoom link. I was actually going to ask Avery, would it be possible in the mornings before committee to get the Zoom link resent? I know not only myself, but several other members were trying to find the link.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're also waiting for Dr. Allen, who will be the person that's helping us answer the questions that we had. Sorry for the delay, Bruce. just to keep everybody updated, I just resent the link to our last two missing members that have asked for it. The only person I don't see is Senator Pouliot, but maybe he's planning on joining us in a bit. Senator Chipman, I think we can probably get started.
Yeah, that sounds great. Sorry for the delay. A few folks didn't have the link to get into the meeting, but we will get started. Welcome to the Committee on Taxation. We will begin with introductions, starting with, we'll start with Representative Carmichael.
Good morning. I'm Representative Mickey Carmichael from House District 137. It's parts of Hancock, Washington, and Northcott County. 18 communities.
Okay. Representative Bickford, you're with us? Representative Bickford?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning, Representative Bruce Bickford. I represent House District 63, which is part of Auburn.
Great. I don't see Representative Collins here, so we will go to Representative Gramlich.
Hi, good morning. I am Lori Gramlich, and I represent House District 13, which is the lovely seaside community of Old Orchard Beach.
Is Representative Hanley with us? Don't see him. Representative Kryzak?
He's here.
He is. Okay.
Yes,
Representative Hanley.
yes, good morning. I'm Jeff Hanley. I represent District 87, which is Pittston, Alna, Wiscasset, and Randolph.
Oh, great. Thank you. Representative Kryzak, you're with us?
I am. I'm Representative Ted Kryzak. I represent District 20, Acton, Lebanon, and part of Chaplin.
Welcome. Representative Matlack.
Good morning. I'm Ann Matlack. I represent House District 92, which includes the communities of Cushing, Thomaston, South Thomaston, St. George, Matinicus, Cree Haven, and the Muscle Ridge Islands.
Representative Perry. Representative Perry, you'd like to introduce yourself?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just swapped from my cell phone to the computer. I'm Joe Perry. I represent part of Bangor and part of Orono in the main house.
And Representative Sachs.
Good morning, Melanie Sachs. I'm lucky enough to represent House District 48, which is Freeport and part of Pownell. Good morning.
And Senator Daughtry, you're with us?
Yep. Good morning. I'm Senator Maddie Daughtry. I represent Senate District 24, which is Harpswell, Freeport, Pownell, North Yarmouth, and Brunswick.
Great. And Representative Collins, you're now with us?
Yes, good morning. I'm Representative Benjamin Collins. I represent part of the city of Portland, and I was up late watching a Celtics game, so I might need some more coffee.
Great. And Representative Terry.
Good morning. I'm Representative Mo Terry. I represent District 26, the west side of Gorham, and I serve as House Chair.
And I believe that's everybody from the committee so far. I'm Senator Ben Chipman. I represent Senate District 27, which is part of the city of Portland. Would also like everyone to know that our analyst Julie Jones is with us, as well as our clerk Avery Page. Before we get started today, I'd just like to make a brief announcement that we will not be taking up PPP conformity today. That is no longer on the agenda, but we will be talking about other aspects in the supplemental budget. And I believe the commissioner is here, Commissioner Figueroa and Dr. Allen as well, to answer questions that folks had from the last meeting. So if there's no objection, do you want to begin with Commissioner Figueroa? Dr. Allen?
Can I ask why we are not taking up PPP conformity when it's due? It's due tomorrow, is that correct? Is it tomorrow or next Friday that it's due back to appropriations?
I think they said they wanted stuff by the end of this week, but we did have the snow day on Tuesday, so that's set a number of committees behind and being able to report stuff back to them, and including us. I think we need a little bit more time, and so for a number of reasons, I think the administration would like a little bit more time before they speak with us about that particular aspect, and so we've taken that off the agenda for a number of reasons. But there's a lot of other work that we can do today.
I'd like to see it stay on the agenda.
Okay. Appreciate the opinion on that, but the chairs have made a decision to take that off the agenda as we're able to do, and we think it makes sense to do. So appreciate that. So is Commissioner Figueroa here, and Dr. Allen, would you guys like to address the committee?
I think Dr. Allen will be helping us through these questions, but maybe we head to Julie for going through the list of parts of the conformity package that we have not yet addressed.
Okay, so you want to go through it and then ask questions as we go through each item and do it that way? I didn't know if we wanted to hear from them first, but is that what you're thinking, Representative Terry?
I believe so.
Okay. So Julie, do you want to walk us through the remaining parts of the budget that we haven't voted unanimous on from our last meeting, kind of pick up where we left off, minus the part about PPP conformity, which we've taken off the agenda, but the remaining parts?
Yes, I will do that. I don't know if people have the chart from previous meetings that I prepared on individual parts, or whether the chart is even useful for people. But the other aspect of this is that some of the elements that are in here, that the first one that's on the list in terms of its location in the budget, which is how I've organized my chart, is beginning with going through the supplemental budget pages. The first one, for instance, relates to revenue sharing adjustments, and those depend upon what you do with conformity in total, which would include PPP. So I'm assuming that's probably one of the things that you want to not take up today, because the final amounts that you come up with for the revenue sharing amounts will depend upon what your decisions are with regard to conformity, which includes PPP. Am I correct in assuming you want to move on from that?
Yeah, are you able to share that with us on the screen so we can see that, or is that not possible?
Budget chart. Hold on a second. Yes.
Hopefully. Do you have something?
Yes, I do. Is that chart on the committee page materials list?
The committee, the chart is on the committee page. It's under supplemental budget materials.
I'm on the committee page now. I'm looking for the.
Yeah, I've got to find out what it's called. It's under supplemental budget materials, so I have to look at the page as well. So I'm getting to the page. It's under supplemental budget materials, 4 items down, 12621 supplemental budget chart.
Thank you. I found it.
Okay. And I will attempt to share this. You know how good I am at this, and so we'll see. Share screen.
This might be a good opportunity just to let everybody know that we're all new to this, or at least some of us are new to this, and we may make mistakes along the way, so please bear with us as we do our best.
Representative Sachs, do you have a question?
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that what we're talking about, though, is just the changes to whatever we do with conformity is just going to change the projected available revenue, how it's calculated, what's going on, the 80-20, that stays consistent. And am I correct about that? That really that what we're just talking about is it will be brought in line based on our decisions around conformity, but the actual formula, so to speak, of how we're getting there is not changing.
I'm not sure that I understand your question. What you do with regard to conformity has an impact upon how much revenue the state receives from FY21 moving forward, because some items affect subsequent fiscal years as well as FY21. So it would have an impact upon the revenue that the state receives during the tax year. Your
Correct.
decision on what you do.
Yeah, I totally understand that. And so I just wanted to point out, though, that whatever those discussions are regarding final PPP or other conformity issues, that the thing that we are just talking about is just the numbers around the changes to the allocations, not how those allocations are calculated. It's nothing other than, oh, by the way, whatever we do here is going to be what those numbers end up to be. I think we're saying the same thing, Julie, so.
Okay. I'm a little confused, but you're not, so I'll trust you.
Yeah. Well, the proposal, I actually have been adhering quite a bit to your chart, and the budget proposal is to bring them in line with projected available revenue. So those numbers will be the direct result of whatever we vote for PPP conformity. But that's really what it hinges on. It's not, the percentages aren't changing, the FY percentages. It's none of the other pieces around Rev 1 and Rev 2. It's just whatever we vote for conformity.
So now I understand. In terms of revenue sharing, the revenue sharing it is not changing the amount of revenue sharing that will go to municipalities in terms of percentages of state revenues that go to revenue sharing or the way in which the money is distributed. However, because revenue sharing is a percentage of sales and income tax, to the extent that you affect how much income tax revenue we're raising, yes, it will change the amount of the bottom line for revenue sharing, because the 3.75% for FY21 will be taken of a different base number, depending upon what you decide to do with regard to income tax.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Can people see the chart now? Am I sharing that effectively?
Yeah, we can see one page of it. Yeah, we see the
Yes.
mouse.
Yeah, I need to scroll back and forth. Yeah, okay. If it's not working for any reason, let me know and I'll try to adjust it. What I see on my screen is different than what you see on your screen, so that's why I have to keep asking.
We're looking
right
at
now, the
revenue
page
sharing
that's up
page.
there is the revenue sharing page.
Yeah, A-83.
That is the, excuse me, that is the page in the supplemental budget where it's located, yes.
Yeah, that's what we're looking
It
at.
says revenue sharing, it says current law, it describes what current law is with regard to revenue sharing. The budget proposals are to make changes for two reasons, I think. One is because there was a calculation error. No, that's from the change package, but some of it is related to a calculation error previously in previous numbers, and some of it is related to changes that are the result of what decisions you make with regard to the income tax provisions in the supplemental budget, some of which are related to PPP conformity. So I'm assuming we're passing over those. I should also mention at the beginning, I passed over the shaded sections, which are the provisions in Part A to make adjustments to appropriations based upon the administration's determination that there can be reductions in those lines without affecting any changes in services. And you had tentatively unanimously voted at the meeting on January 26th to approve those. Again, it was tentative, and I think there were like, it says unanimous, that's of the people present. I think there were like 9 to 10 people at that meeting when those votes were taken. That's something you may want to, I'm not sure whether you intended to go over those again before you get to a final.
Yeah, what I'm wondering, Julie, it seems like the ones we've already voted on, maybe we can not go over those again, just go over the remaining ones that we haven't voted on, except the PPP conformity piece, which is no longer on the agenda. And as we go through them, I'd ask the committee members, ask any questions you have on them one by one. We can get those questions answered as we go through them, and then we could maybe vote on them one by one and then move to the next piece.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
My motion wasn't just to PPP, it was to all of the federal guidelines that we conform to all of them. So just mentioning that we're not going to talk about PPP, you're talking about other things that are affected by conformity. And that was my motion, is we fully conformed.
No, I understand that from the other day, but we had a motion to table and that superseded that motion. So that the whole thing got tabled till today. So now we're back to where we began.
Right, but you're talking about, excuse me. Right, but you're talking about other issues of conformity. And my motion was to conform completely with the federal government.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we go through these one by one, you know, if you want to make a motion to conform fully on them one by one, we can take that up and vote on it. But we're at this point going through them one by one. Yeah, go ahead, Representative Bickford.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the motion to table was on the entire conformity piece. So you're bringing back part of what you tabled. Don't you have to bring back all of what you tabled? You tabled PPP also, and now you don't have it on the agenda.
Right.
I'm objecting to that. I want PPP to be discussed today.
But that's not on the agenda for today.
It was part of your tabling motion.
Right. It was tabled the other day,
It's off
and
the table, is that correct?
it was tabled the other day, and then on today's agenda prior to today, we had everything listed, and since then, the item around PPP conformity has been taken off the agenda. So what's remaining left on the agenda are these other conformity items without PPP, which we're now going through and getting questions.
I would encourage Representative Kryzak to make his motion again then. Thank you.
Okay. Representative Kryzak?
Yeah, just a minute, please. Go ahead. I'll raise my hand when I'm ready.
Yeah, your hand's up now. Did you want to say something, or?
I'm trying to find the motion. Go ahead, Mr. Chair. It's going to take me a minute. I'm using two pieces of technology at the same time.
Yeah, so we're now on going through the items one by one. Julie, do you want to pick up where we left off?
Sure. It becomes a little difficult because there's, to a certain extent, things are interwoven. For instance, the next thing in the chart is Part B, which is the provision of, I guess we'd sort of call it super conformity, simply changing the date from 12/31/19 to 12/31/20. To the extent that you don't want to do super conformity, there are other parts in the bill that take away from that. So just mentioning B is sort of a decision of where to put the baseline from where you would make exceptions to conformity. So we don't start by just partially conforming and saying, okay, we want numbers 3, 6, and 5 out of conformity, but not the others. We start by saying, okay, conformity is this, and then we want to look at 3, 6, and 5 and take those out. So that's what Part B does, is to say conformity is 12/31/20, and then other changes are other parts.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Representative Kryzak?
I'm ready. I move that we, I'm sorry?
Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I move that we fully conform by accepting the Part B language and not decouple in any subsequent sections, with the recommendation that the Appropriations and Financial Affairs Committee balance the budget through reductions elsewhere in the fiscal year 21 budget. Also, that any necessary changes to the calculation for revenue sharing in Part A are made to reflect full conformity.
I second.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Representative Kryzak and seconded by by Representative Pickford. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like a roll call vote.
We don't do roll call votes in committee.
You don't?
No.
Well, the way we're voting right now, it's hard to see how anybody votes, so.
So there's been
It gets recorded.
yeah, so there's been a
Okay.
motion, it's been seconded, and there's been a request for a vote. So now we're into discussion. Senator Daughtry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that, I understand the pressingness of this, but I think we were trying to go through and get more information from the department. And, I appreciate the passion coming from Representative Kryzak, but I would really like to see what they're presenting before we vote on this. So I think we will not be supporting this motion until we get the more information.
Representative Sachs? You might be muted, Representative Sachs.
Sorry, I'm having lots of internet issues this morning. I just wanted to clarify the motion, actually, again, maybe because of my internet issues. It sounded like it was a motion to accept Part B, or was it Part D? And are we only voting on Parts B or D, whatever that was, and Part A? Because there's lots of other ones, F, G, H, some of which conform and some of which don't. So I'm just trying to clarify what the actual motion is, please.
Would you like me to do that?
Yeah, go ahead, Representative Kryzak.
Yeah, I'm moving that we fully conform by accepting the Part B language and not to couple in any subsequent sections. So I'm saying that we should fully conform with the federal text.
And just to clarify, as we continue to discuss this motion really can't include PPP conformity because that's not on the agenda. So we'll be just voting on, I guess, full conformity on all the other sections is essentially what we'd be voting on.
Well, my motion didn't just say PPP. My motion was all about the language of Part B, which makes us conform in every section.
Right, but with all due respect, Representative Kryzak, we can't make a motion with something that's not on the agenda. Representative Sachs?
Yeah, Part B, I thought per Julie and per the chart just changes the date. It does not, it was not my understanding that Part B applies to all of the other sections. It just simply changes the date. Am I wrong in that interpretation?
You are not wrong.
Part B only changes the date, but it changes the date of conformity to the Internal Revenue Code. It therefore includes everything that that Congress did with regard to the income tax law in calendar year 2020.
Point of order.
Representative Collins?
Yes, point of order. I wanted to ask if I know about on the floor of the House. What about in a committee? I'm not as clear on parliamentary procedure in a committee, but is a motion to table number one debatable, and second, if based on the agenda, the rules in this committee on the agenda, wouldn't a motion have to be to take the tabled item from last week off the table to begin with, to discuss if that is allowed to be part of the agenda today? So would someone please clarify that?
So the motion to table from last week tabled it for that day, but it doesn't table it permanently. And it was we can consider it today, and we are considering it today. But what we're considering today is what's on our agenda for today, which is the remaining items in the supplemental budget that we weren't unanimous on, except for PPP conformity, which is not on the agenda. So we can't entertain any motions about PPP conformity or anything that includes that, because that's not on the agenda for consideration. Representative Perry?
Yes, thank you. I mean, it seems like we're just getting started here, and it's really easy to move something and send it off to Approps and say, you deal with it. I'd like to deal with this here. I don't understand why we have a motion at the very start of the meeting. I'd like to walk through everything we have here. I don't want to table it.
Oh, well, we're discussing the motion, which is not to table. The motion is to adopt full conformity for these items that are on the agenda, which is not PPP conformity, but the other items that we have not voted on yet, the supplemental budget. And it's to essentially adopt all of those items to full conformity. And it's not a tabling motion, it's a motion to adopt them. So that is debatable.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like our debate to be, let's walk through
Yeah, well, once
everything we have in front of us, rather than jumping to a vote before we.
I mean, if this motion doesn't prevail, then we would go back to doing what we were doing. It's my understanding. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak before we vote on the motion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
I apologize, but I thought that I'd be more adept at keeping up with all of this Zoom meeting stuff. And I am looking through a number of emails and cannot seem to find the agenda for today. And I'm sure it was sent to us at some point, but I just had this discussion with my aide about what we can do to come up with a little bit clearer system to have everything in one place, so that all of the notes for the public hearing or work session, the Zoom link, as well as the agenda is all in one spot, just like when we show up to committee. And Julie just does such a phenomenal job, as she has always done, of putting it right on our desk with all of the information that we need in one place. Multiple emails coming in at multiple times with different information attached and so forth makes it very difficult to find that information when we're in these meetings. I've been looking for the last 4 minutes to try to find the agenda and I can't find it. So I'm not sure what can be done, and I'm willing to be a part of the solution here to coming up with a better process. Perhaps we could do it after this meeting today, to have a very structured approach to how we're getting these materials all at once in one spot, so that we can find them and have the information that we need to make better decisions for the people of Maine.
Yeah, I totally agree, Senator Pouliot. So yeah, we should definitely work on that and make that happen for everybody. For all our future
Meantime, if
meetings.
someone could forward the agenda, that would be super.
Any further discussion, Representative Bickford?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, the only thing on the agenda that we have is that we were going to discuss conformity issues and supplemental budget. So to say it wasn't on the agenda today, there's no agenda that says it's not on the agenda. There's no agenda that doesn't show it on the agenda. So I take exception to that. PPP is on the agenda, unless you did it in a vacuum and didn't tell anybody.
Well, I did tell everybody at the very beginning of the meeting. I made an announcement that
No,
wasn't-
you don't make an agenda at the beginning of the meeting. You make an agenda ahead of time. In fact, you have to publicly announce your agenda 2 weeks before the meetings. Isn't that correct?
Not on something like this. No, I mean on bills that are scheduled for public hearings and stuff. Yeah, but this is more or less a work session item. I mean, we're basically going through items in the supplemental that we already had a public hearing on. So I'm not aware of a 2-week requirement on the work session items. Representative Kreisler?
I'm a little bit skeptical, so sorry.
Mr. Chair?
Representative Kreisler?
Yeah, I just made the same motion I made last Thursday, and I didn't mention PPP anywhere, so I don't know why this is part of the discussion. My motion is to go for full conformity through all of the things that you want to vote on individually today would be included. So to go and vote, to not vote for my motion and then go vote on different items and then leave the PPP out, that just doesn't, I don't understand how that's happening.
Because you can't make a motion on something that's not on the agenda. We're not entertaining PPP conformity today. It's not on the agenda. So you
Right,
can't
but my motion
decide to
has
take
nothing
something
to
up.
do. Oh, I'm sorry.
I mean, you're
My
making
motion has
something that
nothing
takes
to do
something
with
up.
PPP. My
Right.
motion is full conformity, and you're talking about conformity items. So the full conformity is on the agenda. I never mentioned PPP when I made the motion last Thursday, and I didn't mention it today. My motion is for full conformity. So you can't go to the other items either.
Right, but you're making a motion on a series of items, one of which includes PPP conformity. And what I'm trying to continue to clarify for everybody, as we announced at the beginning of the meeting, that that's not on the agenda. So we aren't entertaining motions about that particular item. No matter what is in the motion or not in the motion, we can't take up items that aren't on the agenda. Senator Doughty.
Mr. Chair, we have a separate tax conformity bill that will be coming before us, correct?
No.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, my only concern is that that was something that I thought we would be dealing with separately with the tax conformity aspect, part of a larger package, and not what we have in front of us right now.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Puglia.
We are only able to discuss the bills that are before us, but the real challenge is the fact that, the people that are working on taxes right now across the state of Maine are trying to get some level of assurance about what the legislature is going to do. And frankly, guys, this is embarrassing that we can't get our job done here in Augusta around this issue. We have the data that we need to make decisions. We know that it's roughly going to cost about $125 to $150 million in that range to do full conformity. And we have to decide whether we want to do that or not. I don't think have time for studies and whatnot. And maybe some people on this committee don't want to do that. And clearly some people on this committee do, and that's fine. But we need to make a vote and move things forward. The Appropriations Committee is waiting for us to decide what we're going to do around conformity. And I think that the time is now for us to move forward and take a vote on this. And then, I understand what Representative Perry is saying about creating a hole, and it should be our job to find it. And if you feel that that's the case, that's fine. Just vote no. You know what I mean? But I don't think we can keep waiting and delaying because frankly, a lot of people are asking what's going to happen with this, and there's a lot of unknown. And I don't think that that is the best course of action for us to take.
Representative Perry.
Thank you. I think maybe the issue here is that there are members of the committee who just want to go full conformity. And I think maybe are implying everyone else wants to go full not conformity. And so this information would really help find some middle ground if that's what we're looking for. But it's, so it seems like there shouldn't be a lot of harm in us walking through everything and hearing numbers and maybe helping us come to a conclusion. We want to be full conformity, full non-conformity, or somewhere in between.
Well, I think Representative Perry, we've been very clear from like 2 weeks ago that we're not doing anything less than full conformity. So realistically, this is just delaying the inevitable. That will be our vote now, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, whenever you want to do this.
Right. But what about the people who, I'm sorry.
Really, the onus is on those who don't want full conformity to figure out what the solution is,
And we're in a position where we don't seem to be able to consider what that might be at the moment.
Or we could just vote for full conformity and be done with it.
Representative Bickford and then Senator Doughty.
Well,
yeah,
I'd like to keep working it because I'm not in either place.
To go along with what Senator Puglia was saying, we have thousands of businesses in Maine that are trying to do their taxes. And it's not going to be good for the state of Maine or for those businesses to have to think about whether or not they're going to have to do an extension on their taxes and do them sometime in the summer or September or October. I mean, that's just not fair. And to Representative Kryzak's motion, I would like to see it amended to appease the chairs to take PPP out of the motion temporarily and fully conform to everything except PPP, if that's equitable to Representative Kryzak.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Representative Kryzak.
Yeah, we can't do that because of the way the motion is written. We're changing the language so that then we go to which changes the date, which goes back to everything is in compliance with the federal government. You can't say, use my motion and then say, but not include PPP. But if I could talk to that, Mr. Chair, in 2010, I was elected selectman in Acton at the end. Well, actually, they said it was the end, but it wasn't, of the Great Recession. And for the first time, we had over 125 people that were on foreclosure for their homes. It had never happened before. Usually one or two people, sometimes three, but then they would find a way and come up with the money. We had the auditor come in just after I started. I got elected in June and started in July. And the auditor came in to prepare us for the taxes, to do the end of year audit and then tell us what we needed to do for taxes. We had $500,000 in our general fund. 350,000 of that was in back taxes. So I couldn't go and raise the mill rate and start charging people more taxes in order to make up the money that we needed to run the town. So taxing our way out of this problem, especially with the feds think it's bad enough that they're going to give more PPP loans, is not a time to be taxing the people and taking their money for more tax money to balance a budget when a lot of people don't have the money, and the businesses need the PPP loans to make it through to the summer. So when the tourists come back in, that they can keep their businesses. We've lost so many already. And that's why all that time was spent on a bipartisan decision in Congress to help the businesses of the country. And our job is not to find where the money will come from. That's appropriations. Our job is just to make sure that we're taxing people equally. And to me, this seems like we're not taxing the whole group of people.
Representative Krajzak, with all due respect, we're not discussing or debating PPP conformity. That's not anything.
I'm not talking about PPP. I'm talking about, we're talking about complete compliance with the federal government. You keep making it a PPP question, and that's not what my motion was last week. I never mentioned PPP, and that's not my motion today. My motion is complete conformity with the federal tax code.
But you're talking about something that would include PPP, and that's not what we're entertaining anything about today, so we shouldn't be talking about that. Senator Daughtry, do you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to add in, I've heard a couple of people say, we this is about, taxing small businesses. I don't think anyone on this committee right now wants to deal with the tax businesses. We're all in the same boat. I think we're closer together in our opinion of trying to make sure that we're looking out for our small businesses. I mean, businesses are in a tough spot. And Senator Pouliot, I know since you and I first got elected, same page of being self-employed. I'm literally looking at doing my own small businesses taxes. And I know for many members on this committee, this impacts all of us individually, not just our districts. But I think I'm getting a little bit frustrated with the fact that, we need more information. The federal government made this change on December 27th on portions of, different aspects of conformity. We've already had to push back the federal tax returns. We all agree we have to act quickly, but we need to act with the right information. And so that's why, I understand, the passion that Representative Krajzak and all of us are discussing here. It's not an easy issue. We're in a very, very tough time, but we just really need to have more info so we can find a common sense solution that we all agree on that looks out for all of our small businesses. So I'm just really not comfortable with this motion. And right now I would move to table this.
Okay, so we've got a motion from Senator Daughtry to table the entire issue of the non-PPP issues of conformity left to deal with. Okay, I'm sorry.
I would move to table Representative Krajzak's motion.
Yeah, okay, great. So that supersedes Representative Krajzak's motion. The tabling motion is not debatable. So I guess we're now in a position of taking a vote on that. Go ahead, Senator Daughtry.
The motion has to be seconded.
Oh, okay, right, you're right. So we have a motion from Senator Daughtry. Is there a second from anybody on that?
Second.
Seconded by Representative Collins. So now we're voting. So would all those in favor of the motion please vote, signify by using the reactions button at the bottom of your screen to raise your hand.
So just a reminder for votes, I do need people to come on video.
So have all now voted?
I need Rep. Krajzak. Yeah,
I'm voting against it, so I can't raise my hand yet.
Can you come on video though?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
I haven't heard those against yet, so that's why I haven't voted yet.
So we've all now voted in favor. Is everybody, you have everything you need, Avery? Okay, so that's 8 in favor. All those opposed, please signify by raising your hand and using the reactions button at the bottom of your screen. Have all now voted?
Okay, so I see Rep. Hanley opposed, Senator Pouliot opposed, Rep. Bickford opposed, Rep. Kryzak opposed. Rep. Collings, your hand is up.
Rep. Collins, you already voted once, so you can't vote again. Are you for or against? Okay.
Sorry, I didn't push the that button down.
So there's 4 votes opposed. Is there somebody that hasn't voted yet?
Rep. Carmichael.
I don't have the option to raise my hand on the lower, so I do it physically.
All right.
So you're opposed then? Okay, so that
All right, it looks like we have 5 opposed.
it's 5 opposed. So the motion to table carries. So we've now tabled everything that was on our agenda today. So I guess we should now maybe hear from the commissioner and Dr. Allen. Do we still have an appetite for that? They're here with us.
Senator Pouliot has a question.
Go ahead, Representative Terry.
Senator Pouliot has a question.
Oh, Senator Pouliot. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What would be helpful for me in explaining when people reach out to me why we haven't made a decision on this yet is what information other committee members need in order to decide what their middle ground position is going to be. I'll just be 100% clear. We can get updates from the department for the next 3 months. We're still going to be full conformity. That's not going to change. So, and I'm not saying that, to cause any issues or anything. I just, it will help me because when people ask me, I'm like, well, we're in favor of full conformity and that's what we're going to do. And when asked, why is this being delayed? I can't really give them, a firm answer on why.
Well, Senator Pouliot, I'd like to respond to that. Why it's been delayed is because we didn't come back into a special session last fall. As you'll remember, this committee met last summer in the middle of the pandemic.
That's totally not taking responsibility.
It absolutely is.
Right now.
Some of us need to take responsibility for that because I know a number of us did want to come back and we did have a committee meeting on conformity and we did have do a lot of work on that, and we did not get agreement from everyone in the legislature to come back in a special session so we could take this up before the end of the year so that people could start preparing their taxes. That's why we're in the situation that we're in.
That's
so I just
a great
want to
way
be
to
clear
pass
about
the buck, but I voted to come back into legislative session last fall.
Great, I appreciate that, but I'm saying there's some colleagues of ours who did not, and that's why we didn't come back, and that's why we didn't take this up well before now. And I wish we had, but that's the situation that we're in.
So what more information do we need to make an intelligent decision about what to do moving forward?
Representative Sachs and then Representative Perry.
I can answer that, Senator Pouliot. For me, particularly because I would just like to have the discussion. Unfortunately, once the motion for full conformity is made, then somebody moves to have a vote without having that full discussion. And there's certain parts of this very complicated bill where we conform in some ways to the benefit of Maine taxpayers and some where they don't conform because the administration felt that was benefit for taxpayers. So just saying full conformity for something like X, Part X, for me doesn't actually, and we have not been able to talk about it because there's a motion and then another motion to cut off discussion. So I'm voting to table in the hopes that we can get discussion so that we can talk about it fully. So that's for me, sir. Thank you.
Representative Perry and then Representative Terry and Senator Daughtry.
Yeah, thank you. I can only speak to myself. I mean, it is really, really easy to have one position or the other, full conformity or not. I'm not there. I don't know where I am because I want a lot more information. And it seems like the process of this meeting has left me in a position to go out and find it on my own. So, because we're shut down now.
Representative Terry.
So that's the holdup for me. We didn't meet Tuesday. We're here today. And I'd like to hear from Dr. Allen. I'd like to hear from the administration. I mean, I don't even feel like I fully understand the whole supplemental budget. This technology thing has been getting us off to a tough start, trying to Zoom and read information at the same time. And so it's been a bit of a struggle, and I don't feel like I'm ready to make any informed vote right now.
Representative Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. From what I hear, what Senator Kryzak has proposed is that you are all voting, I'm sorry, not you all are. The folks that are not interested in tabling this are interested in not passing this part of the supplemental budget. Am I correct in that assumption? Can take nods. Senator Pouliot, Representative Bickford, Representative Kryzak. You are not interested in going forward with the proposal as is. So you are going to vote ought not to pass on all of the parts of the conformity issue that we've discussed so far.
Only if that's a motion made.
That sounded to me like that was the motion that was made.
Motion is made to fully conform, we're going to vote in favor of that. If a motion is made to go along with the supplemental budget as written, we're going to vote against that. But a motion has never been made for that, so we're not voting against anything.
Okay. And it doesn't sound like we're willing to have a discussion based on that. Am I wrong in that thinking as well?
Most of us that have been on this committee for more than a year understand what the conformity piece is. And those of us that are in favor of full conformity have a good understanding of what that is. If other people need more information, or if they want more information at to death, we're not interested in that.
So you're interested in shutting down this conversation period and not listening to any more discussion?
That's
Mr. Chair?
Representative Terry, I don't think that I'm certainly not interested in ending conversation. What I'm interested in is understanding what more information folks need. I mean, we were provided with this information from the department, I think probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, in terms of, you know, what the proposal was from with regard to the supplemental budget. You know, we had a presentation, you know, was it last week from with appropriations regarding, you know, what the impact of this was going to be and what was being called for in the supplemental budget. And then last week we had committee meeting for 15 minutes when it was tabled, and then we did nothing else, you know. And so I think it's pretty straightforward what's on the table here in terms of conformity, but I certainly understand if other members need more time and more information, that's great. I haven't necessarily heard what folks need for information in order to make a decision other than the information we've already been provided. I've just heard that folks want more information.
So perhaps we can go through the rest of the list that Julie has provided us and walk through the parts that we can get through today. Or is everybody in favor of that?
Mr. Chair?
We've tabled, but I believe that was all, everything's been tabled. So Representative Krauser?
Yeah, because of the tabling, we can't discuss it. I'm not looking to shut down any kind of conversation. If we take it off the table, then we can have the folks that are there to testify for us testify and ask the questions that we want to ask. But once it's tabled, you can't do that. My intent was not to shut down discussion. My intent was to start it.
Mr. Chair, if I can just.
Yeah, go ahead, Senator Daughtry.
Tabling motion wasn't on the material in front of us. It was just on the motion.
The table was for to table the motion in front of us, which was full conformity. So any conformity speak is not appropriate at this time.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Representative Bickford. Representative Sachs, you have something?
Well, again, I didn't mind the motion at all. What I'm very concerned about, and I certainly hope does not happen Tuesday, is if there is a motion, let us go through and discuss it instead of moving rapidly to vote on the motion. That is my only concern today. I would have loved to hear what Mr. Bickford, Representative Bickford, is saying. He completely understands this. I would love to hear his thoughts, for example, as I stated, Senator Pouliot, on Part X. where there is some that is conformity and some not, the administration's position is that that is to the benefit of Maine taxpayers. I just would love to hear that. That's a very specific example where it splits, where there's conformity and not. If you have extra information about why Part X should not be administered that way, I would love to hear that. But when you make a motion and then you make another motion to just cut off and vote, then we don't have the benefit of this discussion.
Excuse me.
Representative Bickford, go ahead.
Nobody made a motion to move the vote. That was never made. The motion to, any motion that's made is made to spur discussion and get more information. Anytime someone makes a motion, that begins debate. It doesn't stop debate. What stops debate is when the motion gets tabled. That stops debate.
Well, forgive me, I
So
believe there was a motion last time and then this time also to move it to a vote.
Excuse me.
I'm speaking. Anytime a motion is made, that is the beginning of debate, not the end of debate. And no one ever asked to end the debate and go to a vote. So it was the motion to table is what stopped all debate and all questions.
Just to clarify, Representative Bickford, there was a motion made to table, and that's not debatable, and that's why we ended up voting to table, because we couldn't debate that.
And that was what I said.
Yeah, okay.
Tabling stopped debate.
Yeah.
The motion began the debate and began the questions.
Representative Dowtry, Senator Dowtry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just trying to flip through, Masons to just make sure, but I think at this time, I think there's just been some confusion. I don't know if we could have a corner caucus. However,
Request from Senator Dowtry for a corner caucus, which we've not done before, so which is fine. We just need to know how we do that. Go ahead.
I was just making a wisecrack. Everyone run to the State House, find your office.
Can I just add to that though?
Just have to get Troy to let us go back.
I believe that the way to do this is to have the committee members step off the Zoom meeting. Avery, if you will correct me if I'm wrong, but all committee members should step off this Zoom meeting, and Avery will keep it going while the public waits for us. And then we will go find our links to our Zoom, our side caucuses. I would just ask that we all give ourselves a little patience in trying to figure out exactly how that's done.
Representative Terry?
Yes.
Does Ms. Page have the ability to create a breakout room for us?
She does. I don't think so. Go ahead, Avery.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I actually can't because that's considered partisan. So it's up to, I believe, your aide to provide you with that breakout room link. And then what I do in the meantime is I just keep this meeting going so that you can return whenever.
Yeah, so if the lead, if the committee can check with an aide and set something up for committee Republicans, and we'll do the same thing. We'll corner caucus for, we say 10 minutes, and we'll come back.
Can we make it 15?
15 minutes? Okay, we'll corner caucus for 15 minutes, and we'll be back at 10:52.
Mr. Chair, can I just ask, we're not governed specifically by Mason's rules. Aren't we governed by a combination of Mason's rules and Robert's rules? It's not just basic Mason's rule manual, because we deal with Robert's rules also.
That is true.
Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
So we're going to corner caucus now, and we'll come back in 15 minutes and pick up where we left off. Senator Pouliot. Okay, looks like most of the committee members are back with us. So I guess we're going to pick back up the Committee on Taxation. Representative Terry, if you'd like to lead us along here.
Hi, thank you very much. I apologize for so quickly falling back into legislative time. I thought our Zoom meetings were so efficient, but we're still legislators, I guess, deep down. So thank you everyone for the patience, for letting us have our quick discussion. I would like to ask reconsideration of the last tabling motion, so we can get some questions answered. Representative Daughtry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would move to reconsider our prior action where we tabled.
And can we get a show of hands?
Do you need a second?
Sorry, yes, Anne, thank you.
I'll second it.
And Avery, you need our videos on for that?
Yes, please.
I'm sorry, I lost the sound for a minute. What was the motion?
Just to reconsider the tabling motion, Ted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Senator Pouliot, can I just get you to come on video real quick?
Did he pop on when I wasn't looking, Avery?
I don't think so.
There he is.
Or, oh, nope.
Ryan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, that being said, the motion that's on the table right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Representative Kryzak's motion that we conform to everything in the supplemental budget. And we're at the point of discussion at this point. So for me, I would like to hear from the administration or from Dr. Allen, I guess specifically, on the parts of the administration that we have yet to discuss in a sort of a work session format. We heard the testimony in the AFA as part of a public hearing, and we really have only gone through some of these pieces in the supplemental from the administration. So if, for me, the discussion, I can, get some clarity for a lot of these things if I can have perhaps Dr. Allen go through the list and sort of, if Julie, you wouldn't mind reading from or starting from the top of the list. If that's not okay, I'm happy to do it myself. I believe we were at part D. Was that where we were, Julie? Business loss. Federal excess business losses. Did we lose Julie? I feel like we maybe lost Julie.
I'll give her a call.
Perhaps, would anyone mind if Dr. Allen just answered those or, kind of walked us through that stuff? Or actually, yeah, oh, there you are, Dr. Allen. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
Dr. Allen, sorry for taking up so much of your time today, but appreciate you hanging on with us and being here.
So you want us to walk through the language portions of the supplemental?
Please.
Which would be the areas that the administration is proposing not to conform to?
Correct.
Okay, so, and I have John Sagasser and Daniel D'Alessandro here with me, so they're going to jump in if I go to stray. So Part D. Yes, so this deals with non-corporate taxpayers, so pass-through entities that are reporting their income or loss on their individual income tax returns. In the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the Federal Tax Reform Act that was passed in 2017, there was a limitation on the amount of other income that business losses could offset. And so it was set at, I believe it was 250,000 for individuals and 500,000 of losses for joint returns could offset, up to 500,000 for a joint return could offset other types of income, wage income, capital gains, dividends, interest, etc. In the CARES Act, Congress temporarily and retrospectively repealed that limitation on the use of non-corporate losses. So the taxpayer could go back and amend their 2018 and 2019 tax returns. And for the 2020 tax year, that limitation would be suspended as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions about that part? Okay. No hands, right? Going forward to Part E, the business interest deductions.
Yep, I'm going to see if Daniel will take that one because we have a little bit of a twist in how we're decoupling from that, or
Okay.
proposing to decouple from that.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes.
May we please just get a frame of reference for what documents we're looking at so that I can pull it up on my other screen and follow along, please?
Julie, would you mind plugging that back in, the one that you were looking at earlier?
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. All right, Mr. D'Alessandro.
Hello, thank you. Representative Terry, Senator Chipman. My name is Daniel D'Alessandro, and I'm an attorney in the Office of Tax Policy. What we're looking at here is the interest deduction cap for businesses. This is another Tax Cuts and Jobs Act item where the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was enacted in 2017, and this was a provision Maine did conform to, set a limit for how much business interest could be used as a deduction. And if you went above that limit, you wouldn't lose that deduction, but it would be carried forward to future years. And that was 30% of adjusted taxable income. The CARES Act temporarily suspended that limit for 2019, 20, and 2020. And what we're proposing here is to decouple from that suspension and maintain current Maine law and what was previously federal law and what continues to be federal law after the suspension, where businesses would only be able to use 30% of their interest.
Okay.
Under the CARES Act, they'll be able to go as high as 50%. And when they do go above that at the federal level, that would be disallowed at the state level, but then they would be able to take it over the next 4 years. So they would be able to come back into conformity relatively quickly. And this is slightly different than what we proposed over the summer. Over the summer, we had proposed delaying when they could take that interest deduction, but after hearing from the committee and other interested parties, we've accelerated. The proposal accelerates when that disallowed interest could be used.
Okay. Any questions on that part? Okay. Seeing none. Dr. Allen, the main capital investment credit, can you walk us through that part?
Yeah, I'm just going to have Daniel keep going through, and if there's any fiscal note or any other issues like that, I'll be happy to jump in.
Okay.
So the main capital investment credit is the state's response to federal bonus depreciation. At the federal level, certain property, now since the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, almost all property can be expensed. That is, the deduction is taken in the year when the property is placed in service, as opposed to depreciation, where the deduction would have been taken over the useful life of the property. Maine doesn't conform to federal bonus depreciation, but instead allows the main capital investment credit for bonus eligible property that's placed in service in Maine. What happened here is qualified improvement property was, most would say, misclassified in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act due to a drafting error and didn't qualify for expensing. It was 39-year property instead of 15-year property. And that refers to the depreciable life. The CARES Act fixed that problem, and it fixed it retroactively. And so this qualified improvement property, retail property, would be depreciated over 15 years instead of 39. At the federal level, that meant it would qualify for bonus and be fully deductible in the first year. We are proposing to conform to that new depreciation schedule, but there's a little wrinkle here. Now that the property is bonus eligible, it would also be eligible for the main capital investment credit. And we are proposing to go along with that, but not retroactively. The conformity, the decoupling provision you see here, the MCIC provision, just disallows this property from the MCIC for past years.
So sorry, can you just say that one more time? The decoupling part for this year makes it so we can't take those deductions for prior years, but going forward we will.
Well, you'll be able to use the quicker depreciation schedule for the property.
Okay.
So we'll be in conformity for all of the property on the depreciation front, but it won't be eligible for the main capital investment credit for the prior years. It will be in 2020 going forward, but it didn't make sense to allow an investment credit for investments that were already made.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on that?
I do.
Yes, Representative Hanley.
Yes, thank you. Do we have a monetary breakdown for each part of how it's going to affect the budget?
I have that spreadsheet if you want at some point to put that up.
Julie, do you have that spreadsheet, or is that something that we can get emailed to us, Dr. Allen?
Yeah, I think Julie should have it.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt your presentation. So, I mean, if it's something you can give us later that we can correlate to each section, that would be good, each part.
Great. Excellent. And Representative Carmichael, did I hear your voice? I'm sorry if I passed you by accident.
But I was going to ask for the same thing, the fiscal notes to go along with it. That's
All right, terrific. And I believe that has been asked already. So I'm glad that the document exists somewhere, and we'll we'll get a chance to peek at it. Anybody else have any questions on the timing of this main capital investment credit depreciation piece? No. Okay. All right, Dr. Allen, let's see, relatable charitable deductions, Part G.
I can answer that one. The CARES Act increased the charitable contribution limit for tax year 2020. That's the amount of contributions that you can have based on your income and take as a deduction. And then the Consolidated Appropriations Act extended that through 2021. We're proposing to conform to that increase in the limit with, again, decoupling only from a retroactive piece. And the part that we're proposing to decouple from is for corporations in fiscal year 2019. And the reason that we're proposing to decouple from that is because 2019 is already over.
Yeah.
But going forward, both for individuals in 2019, we'd conform, and then going forward for 2020 and 21, we would also conform.
Questions? All right. Seeing none, let's head over to Part H, net operating loss limitation. Dave.
So Part H is actually a conformity provision where we would bring the state into conformity with what's happening at the federal level. The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act created an NOL limitation. That was the amount of net operating losses that could be used against other expenses, and that was 80% of your income. Maine did not conform to that limit. Now, what the CARES Act has done is temporarily suspended the limit, basically bringing the federal government into conformity with the state. And what we're proposing here is to just come into full conformity. That would be conformity with the federal government suspension of the limit, and then once that suspension is over, we would be in conformity with the limit as well.
Okay. Any questions on that? That's an old friend for those of us that have been on the tax committee before. Anybody have any questions about that? Nope. Okay. Seeing none. Part I, the residency portion.
Yes, I'll speak to that, give Daniel a breather. So Part I involves teleworking and the resident credit for tax paid to another jurisdiction. Due to COVID-19, a number of residents who'd been physically working out of state, commuting to physically work out of state, began teleworking from their homes in Maine. And what the governor has proposed and was addressed in the October tax alert was to provide some relief during tax year 2020 for the purpose of tax stability during this COVID-19 period of 2020 and relief from possible double taxation. It's an issue among a number of states. Massachusetts and there are some other states have a rule that would reach past their state borders and can deem work taking place in other states as being sourced to their state. So in terms of taxation and residencies, the pieces are residency status and where the income is sourced. This proposal in Part I would expand the credit that's available to Maine residents when they are being taxed by another state. Usually, in the standard scenario, a resident is taxed on all their income. So a Maine resident who physically commutes and physically works out of state would be taxed by that other state, usually applying a source rule that said you're physically here, that income will be taxed by that state. And then to alleviate issues of double taxation, the home state, so here Maine, would provide a tax for that credit paid to the other state. And that all works fine when everybody follows a physical sourcing rule for where work is sourced. But some states have applied a rule where they have said during the COVID-19 pandemic, they will deem the work that had been physically taking place in their state to be continued sourced to that state. Massachusetts first had their rule apply to the end of 2020. Since then, they've extended it to 90 days after the end of the pandemic period. the state of emergency. This proposal in Part I is for tax year 2020. And it would give this credit. The credit, I'll just add a little twist here. The status, it's a resident credit. It applies to residents based on their domicile. There's two concepts for resident tax residency. If you're domiciled, you're treated as a main resident and taxable on income, or if you're a statutory resident, where you are present in the state for 183 days and under Maine statute and rule have a permanent place of abode. Both of those categories would get this credit.
And as it stands right now, so would we be conforming or not conforming to the feds?
Thank you. So this is not a federal conformity item.
Okay.
This is a COVID-19 relief item separate from code conformity issues.
Okay, so if we were to not decouple from this, our residents we would have to be taxing. We would not be able to give the credit to those that are actually working from home instead of commuting.
So again, this is not an issue of conformity to the federal code. It's a question of sourcing income. So it's not a code conformity issue.
Okay.
It's saying, okay, you have income. Where is it going to be sourced to? Maine residents are taxed on all their income, regardless of source, but are given a credit when they are pay tax to another state because they went and worked in that other state. That's the normal sourcing rule. That's current law. If you go, we follow a physical sourcing rule. If you go and work out of state and that state taxes you on that work, then we will provide a credit for that tax amount against your main income tax.
Okay.
We are proposing, the administration is proposing in Part I to expand the sourcing rule just for 2020 and say, if the other state is reaching beyond a physical sourcing rule and considers that they can tax you in 2020 during this COVID-19 pandemic period, such as Massachusetts, New York has a longstanding similar rule pre-pandemic. There's some other states. Then for 2020, we'll accept that state exercising that jurisdiction beyond what we normally would accept and allow an additional credit to the Maine residents.
Okay. All right. Good. Anybody have any questions on that?
I have
Representative
a quick
Matt?
question. I remember from a prior discussion that this is in litigation as to whether Massachusetts has the ability to do that. Is that still out there?
Yes. So Massachusetts came out with their rule during the pandemic period, and New Hampshire has filed a bill of complaint with the U.S. Supreme Court under its original jurisdiction, asking the Supreme Court to strike down Massachusetts extension, its rule where it looks beyond physical sourcing and would tax non-residents who had been working in Massachusetts and now are back in their homes, and Massachusetts would be taxing them. New Hampshire has brought suit, and that is currently pending. The Supreme Court has yet to rule whether it will accept the case. So it's pending at the Supreme Court as a bill of complaint. Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I get a.
Go ahead, Representative Carmichael, sorry.
Yeah, I got just a quick one. So does this eliminate any possibility of the employee being double taxed by two states? Is there still any circumstances where this could still happen?
Possibly, and just to clarify, in terms of double taxation, referring to taxation of the same income. So, so in the classic scenario, a Maine resident who has various income streams, has various income, works out of state, physically commutes out of state, and is taxed by that state. If they will be taxed by Maine on all their income at the outset, and then give a credit for the amount of tax paid to that other state for that work done in that other state. So in that case, both states are taxing the individual, but on that income that was earned out of state in let's say Massachusetts or whatever state they're physically working in, they will get the credit against the main tax up to whatever the tax was imposed by that other state. So it depends on what the tax rates are. It's not that the income is totally exempted. So the same income may be taxed on the same states as far as is a general category, but up to the full credit given the tax paid to that other state.
The same money wouldn't be taxed twice. The credit would eliminate that money.
The credit would eliminate that double taxation, but you asked, could there be other situations? So there are statutory residency situations where our credit, the main credit, would apply to a statutory resident. So a person who's actually, let's say Massachusetts, is a person who's up here and becomes a statutory resident because they've meet those criteria, but they are actually domiciled back in Massachusetts. It's not clear what Massachusetts would do, or other states who have similar rules. It's just not Massachusetts. We do have a provision to require that the person avail themselves of their home state's tax paid to another jurisdiction credit. But generally, for most situations, this eliminates the double taxation. Issue for 2020, to the extent after 2020, the proposal is limited to that because this is in the supplemental budget to address tax year 2020, which is pending filing now. The issue as to whether it should extend beyond that can be taken up later, but for this provision, it's for 2020. Then we would revert back to the physical sourcing rule where there would be this double taxation situation, and that's part of the concerns of the New Hampshire suit in the Supreme Court.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Sagasser? Okay. And I'm assuming, Dr. Allen, that this is also part of the fiscal note that you sent along?
Yes, but John, can you just talk about the Opportunity Maine credit proposal too? That's
Sure.
part of
yeah, that's right.
COVID
They're
related.
both in Part I. Thank you. So that was Part I-1, the credit for tax paid in another jurisdiction. Part I-2 has to do with the educational opportunity tax credit. And that proposal here in Part I-2 is to expand the work requirement. So the credit requires that you be employed in Maine at the time you are paying payments on the loan and therefore eligible for the credit. And this would expand that requirement, relax that requirement so that you would qualify for the credit if you were employed at any time in 2020, not necessarily while you make the payment. So you could have been out of work due to the pandemic, having been working in Maine in 2020, then you're out of work, you make payments, you would still be eligible for the credit.
Anybody have any questions on that? Senator Daughtry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. How would it apply to someone who is residing in Maine but telecommuting for a company that technically is out of state? Would that still qualify under that change, or?
For the work in Maine, are you talking about the education opportunity tax credit?
Opportunity tax credit.
I am going to have to ask the Director of Income Tax, Heather Popadak here, whether they've addressed telecommuting issues for EOTC. I'll have to get back to you on that.
They're telecommuting, they're working in Maine. The employer no longer needs to be located in Maine. So that should be fine.
Great, thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions on the equal opportunity tax credit? Okay, Seeing none. Let's talk about Part U, FDII. Dr. Allen?
I think Daniel's going to take this one too.
Okay, great, great. Thank you, Daniel.
All right, so this is another Tax Cuts and Jobs Act component, and it was not modified by the CARES Act or the Consolidated Appropriations Act, but it still has to do with Maine's conformity to the federal code. And this is a deduction for foreign-derived intangible income, and it's often called FDII. And it's a corporate deduction that provides a lower federal effective tax rate on excess returns earned by US companies that are selling abroad. And its design was to modify the federal tax rate for these companies so that they could compete better abroad and be in line with the effective tax rate established by GILTI on similar transactions. It's another federal deduction that applies to foreign sales that originate abroad. And so this aligns the US manufacturers or US sellers, doesn't have to be manufacturing, with ones that originate abroad and sell similar services that are both taxed by the United States. And Maine did conform to that deduction, but as you know, Maine has its own tax rates. And so the federal policy of aligning the federal tax rate isn't really a state issue. The state has its own tax rate and sets that based on its own policy, not on the federal policy. And so what we're proposing here is to decouple from that federal deduction, allowing the federal policy of setting the tax rate the federal government wants to set to continue, but not having that kind of incidentally affect the Maine tax laws as well.
Sorry about that. Anybody have any questions on that? I know that was something some folks had some questions on. Representative Sachs?
Thank you. Mr. D'Alessandro, how in fact does it do that? Because I went back to Commissioner Figueroa saying Maine will still, her testimony that she gave us with the AFA, Maine will still receive the benefits of the federal policy without incurring the cost. And you also just alluded to that in terms of feds can do what feds want to do, but it won't, we don't want it to affect ours. Can you talk about that a little bit, please?
Right. So I think the point that it's not just a subsidy for these foreign sales. The design at the federal level is to hit a certain federal tax rate. And so if we look at GILTI and FDII together, GILTI applies to businesses that are selling abroad, but originating those sales also abroad. And so those foreign sales are taxed by the United States to some extent if there are excess profits, those above 10% of rate of return on tangible property. GILTI will bring that income into the federal tax base and set a lower tax rate, a lower effective tax rate. FDII applies to similar sales abroad, but now originating from the United States. And at the federal level, what they wanted to do was make sure that if the sale originated in the United States, it had the same effective tax rate as if it originated abroad. And they did that through GILTI and through FDII. And so that's accomplished completely at the federal government. You have GILTI reducing the effective tax rates on the foreign originated sales and FDII lowering the federal effective tax rate on the US originated sales. And so to the extent that that policy works, it's accomplished at the federal level. There's equal federal tax rate for both of those sales. Now, the way FDII flows into Maine's tax base is because it's a deduction and we conform to taxable income. And so that deduction flows into the Maine tax base and lowers the amount of tax that Maine would collect. It's in effect is just a subsidy at the state level. But Maine's treatment of this income is separate from the federal policy of matching those two tax rates. And so by decoupling, we allow the federal policy to continue with the same federal tax rates, but we don't provide a subsidy to that activity at the state level. And Maine's impact on these sales is relatively minor. Right? The federal benefit is much larger, both because there's a higher tax rate, but also because a large portion of these sales aren't originating from Maine. And so when the federal government sets these tax rates, it's applying to companies across the nation. Maine's deduction also is taken by companies across the nation, and it's because Maine taxes a company based on their total sales divided by their sales in Maine. And so we have the Maine deduction is being taken by companies, not just who have their sales originate in Maine, but who have their sales originate through anywhere in the country, as long as that company has nexus with Maine and sales into Maine.
Anybody else have any questions on that? All good. Avery, would you mind lowering Representative Sack's hand? Only because I don't know. I can't do it on my end.
Okay.
I keep thinking she's got a question. Now I'm hoping that we can jump ahead to Part X, since Part W, V, and W are where our bones of contention lied earlier. If we can just get this part done, and then we can go back to that discussion in a minute. So Part X decouples from temporary expansion of deduction for business meals for 21 and 22. Dr. Allen, Daniel, would one of you guys like to take that?
So business meals are normally deductible, but only at 50%. So if you only get a deduction for 50% of the expense. This limit was temporarily raised so that a full deduction is allowed at the federal level for 2020 through 2022. What we're proposing here is to conform for 2020 because the forms we're just late in the game for 2020, but then to decouple for 2021 and 22 from this temporary change.
Going forward, yeah. So it looks to me like that has a $500,000 fiscal impact. Is that, can you walk me through what that means? Just considering we're not having, nobody had business lunches in 2020. So I'm just wondering how that number came up, if you don't mind walking me through that.
I'll take care of that, certainly. So as Daniel pointed out, this proposal at this law at the federal level affects tax years 2020, 21, and 22.
Okay.
Administration is proposing to conform for tax year 2020, as Daniel pointed out, because 2020 is all over with and people are about to file their tax returns.
Right.
So what this fiscal note is reflecting is conformity for the 2020 tax year. And as you point out, Representative Terry, obviously because of the pandemic, restaurant sales were down significantly. So, the impact of conforming for 2020, we estimate is $550,000. If we were to conform for this for tax year 21 and tax year 22, it would be much higher because presumably the economy is recovering. The pandemic is going to be less of an impact over time, and we would expect restaurant sales to pick up, particularly from business clients.
Right.
As the economy opens up.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on what it's like to have lunch out anymore? Representative Daughtry.
Just a quick question. I know this isn't direct, but was there any guidance when the federal government made this decision to put it in for 2020? Were they kind of yes on industry, which I'm all there for, but it just exactly said like it's not something that happens as much in 2020, sadly. And I'm sure we all can't wait to all go out to lunch together. It's just kind of a funny one.
This was part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act, so it was the bill that the president signed on December 27th. So it was, it came at the end of 2020. So it, allowing businesses to deduct at 100% rather than 50 probably had no real impact on activity for the 2020 tax year, certainly.
They just wanted a business lunch after their bill. Thank you.
Okay, so, and we're, I'm sorry, Representative Matlack, you have a question?
Yes, just a quick one. It may be off the wall or anything, but does this have implications for CONUS and OCONUS? Because those are meals deductions also. Do you know? Or is this strictly for business deductions of meals? And for example, CONUS and OCONUS are those meals and lodging deductions for people who travel as part of their job, whether it's being a member of a state, federal government, or as in other industries that rely on CONUS and OCONUS deductions? No?
We can get back to you on that. I think this is mostly just a business lunch, a business luncheon.
The former three martini lunch, is that what you're saying? That we used to refer to?
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you.
That would be great. Okay, and then that takes us to Part V and Part W, which it's my understanding that the administration is still working on. So for me, considering where we are and the time of day that it is, I know there are other committees that are meeting in a little while. I wonder if we can continue this conversation on Tuesday with whatever the administration comes up with to address the concerns that we've been hearing by the public and otherwise to finish this conversation off and have the opportunity to vote. Representative Carmichael, it looks like you might have a question.
Yes, thank you. So are we going to be given the fiscal notes now, or is that something they're going to email to us so we can address any questions Tuesday?
Julie, would you mind if you probably have sent it already, and I apologize, we're all kind of getting used to actually reading and understanding our email. I know I am, rather than seeing things on my desk. Would you mind resending that, or Dr. Allen, the fiscal notes that we, based on all of the discussions that we've had so far today?
I have received a couple of different spreadsheets, and I'm not sure which one is the currently viable one. So I kind of defer to Mr. Allen, I think, in terms of, I'd be happy to send it out if he'd let me know which one it is the current one that I should be sending out, or if he wants to send it out, that's fine too, either way, but I'm not comfortable which is the right one right now.
I will resend the corrected spreadsheet to Julie and Avery, and they can make sure it gets to you. I'd be concerned I'd miss somebody. So I want to make sure you get the information directly from
Great.
Julie.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
I'd just like to respond, Representative Terry, to what you've said. I agree. It's a good stopping point. We can pick back up on Tuesday, and we'd just like to reiterate for everybody who's still on our meeting at this point that I'm certainly committed to continuing to work on finding a solution to all of this stuff that works for people across the state, and then hopefully something we can all agree on. And I think that other members feel the same way. So
So do we need a tabling motion to be able to continue until Tuesday, or are we good to adjourn today and continue Tuesday? I should say after our public hearing. We have I believe 3 bills that we'll be looking at on Tuesday. That should be relatively short. So it should be able to give us time to jump into this directly after those public hearings. Does anybody want to?
I'd make a motion that we stop for now and pick back up with this after the public hearings on Tuesday.
Anybody want to second that? Senator Daughtry. Apologies.
It appears Julie has a question or her hand raised.
Yes, Julie. Thank you, man.
Yes, thank you. I only want to ask whether you want to send any kind of communication to AFA, where their original request was tomorrow. If you want to send some sort of communication to them that you're going to need a little more time.
Yeah, that's probably not the worst idea. Senator Chipman, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'll amend my motion to include that we send them a communication, let them know that we've done quite a bit of work, but still have some more work to do, and obviously lost Tuesday for the snow day, so we'll continue that work early next week.
All right. We good to go to adjourn?
Yeah, I think we're good to, should we vote now on that, or?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Vote to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor?
Oh, right, reactions. Sorry.
You have everything, Avery?
Got it. Yeah, thanks.
Representative Hanley, you okay with adjourning? Okay, great. That's good. Terrific. So again, I apologize for the length of time that took, and I really appreciate everybody sticking by us, wavering from legislative time to Zoom time. Thank you so much. And we'll see you on Tuesday.
Great.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Thank you.